Welcome to Value Vest Daily. Okay, picture this. A single soldier, right? Tucked away safely in a bunker somewhere, but they're controlling hundreds of autonomous drones, all at once. Like it's some kind of hyper-realistic video game. Well, guess what? That's not science fiction anymore. It is happening on the battlefield right now. And the software company that makes it all possible just went public. And its stock? It absolutely skyrocketed. We're talking over 1,000% in just 2 days. So today we are diving deep into SWMR, ticker SWMR. The big question is, are we looking at the next great defense tech giant, or is this just a classic IPO bubble that's about to burst?
But you know the drill, we gotta get this out of the way first. Quick disclaimer, this is all for educational and informational purposes, folks. It is absolutely not financial or tax advice. You have to do your own homework and talk to a pro before you even think about making any investment moves. All right, let's get into it. So let's just start with the number that has got everybody talking. Over 1,000%. And not in a year, in just 48 hours. I mean, it is so incredibly rare to see a company hit the public markets and pull off a move like this. This is the kind of thing that can make people rich overnight, but, and this is a big but, it can also make your money vanish just as fast. So it forces us to ask, what in the world is going on here? Is there some truly revolutionary tech under the hood, or is this just pure, unfiltered market craziness? Let's just break down how fast this all happened. On March 16th, the IPO gets priced at just $5 a share. You know, that's the price the big institutions get to buy in at. The very next day, it opens up for the rest of us at $12.50. Right out of the gate, that's a 150% gain. But oh, we were just getting started. By the end of day one, it closed at $31. That is a jaw-dropping 520% gain in a single day. But the party wasn't over. Day two, the stock hit $65 at one point before closing at $55, another 77% gain on insane volume. So yeah, $5 to $55 in 2 days. That is the literal definition of a stock going parabolic, and we need to figure out why. And that right there leads us to the billion-dollar question we're here to answer. Is this insane price action actually backed up by some truly game-changing, world-altering technology that people are just now discovering? Or is this just a classic speculative frenzy, you know, fueled by hype and a fear of missing out that's just waiting to come crashing back down to earth? That's what we're going to try and unpack right now. So to figure that out, we've got to look past the crazy stock chart for a minute and really dig into the company itself. You know, what's the engine driving this thing? What does SWMR Incorporated actually do that could possibly create this much excitement? Okay, so SWMR is a software company based in Austin, Texas, and they have operations in Poland and Estonia, which, you know, puts them right on the doorstep of where modern conflict is playing out. Their whole deal is drone autonomy, but the phrase you really need to remember, the one that sums up their entire vision, is their mission to create the operating system for swarm warfare. You know, think about it like Windows for your PC or Android for your phone. Those are operating systems that let tons of different apps run on all kinds of hardware. Well, SWMR wants to be that fundamental layer, but for military drones, turning a bunch of separate pieces of hardware into one single, intelligent, coordinated weapon. Their main product is called Trident OS, and these features right here, this is the bull case in a nutshell. First, and this is everything for a defense company, it's combat-proven. This is not some idea in a lab. It's being used on the front lines in Ukraine right now, since April 2024. The software lets one single person command a swarm of up to 690 drones at the same time. I mean, that's a massive force multiplier. You're turning one soldier into the commander of a whole air force. And get this, it works even when GPS is jammed. This is a huge deal. Sophisticated enemies use electronic warfare to knock out GPS, making most drones useless. But Trident OS lets them keep going, using things like visual landmarks to navigate. And maybe the biggest thing from a business angle, it's vendor-agnostic. It doesn't care who made the drone, DJI, Lockheed Martin, you name it. Trident OS can run on it. That makes its potential market absolutely massive.
And when I say combat-proven, I'm not talking about a couple of test flights. No. The company says Trident OS has powered over 100,000 real combat missions. This isn't just a slide in a PowerPoint deck. This is battle-hardened tech with a track record that most startups can only dream of. That real-world proof is priceless because military customers are, you know, famously unwilling to take risks on unproven tech. This takes a lot of that risk off the table.
And this really just sums it all up. What used to be in science fiction movies, these intelligent swarms of drones flying complex missions together, it's now a reality on the battlefield. SWMR is trying to position itself right at the very tip of the spear of this massive shift in how wars are going to be fought from now on. Now, as if the tech itself wasn't enough to get people excited, let's throw some gasoline on the fire. The company's non-executive chairman, Erik Prince. Yeah, that Erik Prince, the guy who founded Blackwater, maybe the most famous and, let's be honest, controversial private military company in the world. Just having his name attached carries enormous weight in military circles. For investors in this space, his involvement is a massive flashing green light. It says, hey, this tech is the real deal, and it means the company has access to a global network that would take any other startup decades to build. He knows the game, he knows the players, and he knows what soldiers actually need. His presence adds a huge layer of credibility. And let's be real, a ton of hype. So you've got this incredible, proven technology and a super high-profile chairman with all the right connections. But even that doesn't quite explain a 1,000% surge in 2 days. What really happened here was a perfect storm where a bunch of powerful forces all came together at the exact same moment. So let's break it down. There were really 3 key things that poured fuel on this fire. First, the global geopolitical situation is, to put it mildly, a mess, and that's creating huge demand for exactly this kind of tech. Second, the company sits right at the sweet spot where a bunch of the market's hottest trends overlap. And third, you put those two together and you get a massive retail investor frenzy, which gets supercharged by the way these small IPOs work. First up, the geopolitical angle. The war in Ukraine is basically a live-action sales demo for SWMR's technology. It's proving every single day how effective these low-cost drone systems can be against traditional, expensive military gear. Then you add in all the other global tensions, the Middle East, the South China Sea, and what do you get? Defense budgets are exploding everywhere. Countries are looking at Ukraine and realizing, whoa, we have a major weakness here. They feel this urgent need to get this kind of autonomous tech, and that creates a massive tailwind for a company like SWMR. Next, you've got the story. SWMR's story just perfectly captures what the market is excited about right now. It's an AI and autonomy play. Check. That's the biggest theme out there. It's a defense tech play. Check. That sector is flush with cash because of everything we just talked about. And it's a new small-cap IPO. Check. That has its own special appeal for traders who are hunting for those explosive moves. It's like the perfect storm of buzzwords, and it's drawing in money from all these different kinds of investors at the same time. And here's the proof that the bulls are holding on to. These are the numbers that take this from just a cool idea to a potential business. In 2025, the company's revenue was a tiny $310,000. Basically nothing. But they already have $16.3 million in signed sealed contracts, and they're officially guiding for around $20 million in revenue in 2026. That jump from basically zero to $20 million in a year, that's the kind of explosive growth that gets investors dreaming. It lets them look right past the tiny current numbers and focus on what this company could be. Okay, so that's the bull case. And you gotta admit, it's a powerful story. You've got amazing tech, meaning the perfect moment in the market. But now we have to hit the brakes and do a serious reality check. We have to look at the other side of this and ask the hard question. Is this valuation completely and totally insane? All right, let's look at the cold, hard numbers. And you might want to brace yourself for this. As of March 18th, the company's market cap was sitting at almost $680 million. Okay, huge number. But their revenue, their actual sales over the last year, just $310,000. And on top of that, they lost over $8.5 million. I mean, they're burning through cash like there's no tomorrow. So if you do the math, their price-to-sales ratio is over 160, and that's based on their future projected revenue. If you use their actual revenue, it's over 2,000. Just to put that in perspective for you, most people think a price-to-sales of 10 is getting pretty pricey for a fast-growing software company. 160? That's not even in the same ballpark. It's in a different galaxy. This kind of valuation assumes everything goes perfectly for years and years, with zero room for a single slip-up. So this is really the heart of the conflict, right? You have two completely different stories. The bulls are all in on the narrative. It's combat-proven tech, the drone market is huge, Erik Prince brings credibility, and hey, they're guiding for $20 million next year. The bears, on the other hand, are just looking at the numbers. The valuation is just absurd, they're losing a ton of money, this looks like a classic IPO squeeze where there aren't enough shares to go around, and there's a huge risk they can't actually deliver on that ambitious sales promise. And let's get specific about those risks, because they are very, very real. That tiny float, the number of shares actually available to trade, it's a double-edged sword. It helped the stock rocket up, but it means a little bit of selling could send it crashing down just as fast. Then there's profit taking. You have insiders and early investors sitting on massive gains. Eventually, they're going to want to cash in, and that's going to put huge pressure on the stock price. There's execution risk. That $20 million guide is just that, a guide. Defense contracts are notoriously slow, delays happen, and what if things calm down in the world? A peace deal somewhere could kill the urgency for their product. And finally, you have to know that the big guys, Lockheed, Northrop Grumman, they are not just going to sit back and let a startup eat their lunch. They're working on their own stuff, and they have the money and the connections to be huge competitors down the road.
So what do we do with all this? How do you make sense of it? Well, it really just comes down to one thing. Are you approaching this as a short-term trade, a speculation, or a long-term investment in a business? Because the strategy for those two things couldn't be more different, and you have to know which game you're playing before you get in. Look, if you're a momentum trader, this volatility is where you live. It's a high-risk, high-reward playground. But the key is discipline. You've got to use tight stop losses to protect yourself, and you have to keep your position size tiny so one bad move doesn't wipe you out. This is a trade on pure sentiment. But if you're a long-term value investor, this valuation is just a non-starter. It's way too high. The smart move here is to put SWMR on your watch list and just be patient. Wait for the hype to fade, wait for the stock to pull back, maybe to that $20 or $30 level. And most importantly, wait for them to prove they can actually make the money they say they're going to make. From a value standpoint, this is not a core investment. Well, not yet anyway. So we come back to the big question: groundbreaking tech company or textbook bubble? And, the real answer is probably both. SWMR seems to be a genuinely innovative company with incredible, battle-tested technology. At the same time, it has absolutely been caught up in a classic hype-driven speculative bubble. The real challenge for any investor now is to separate those two things, to figure out the real value of the business underneath all the short-term noise of the stock price. So what do you think about SWMR? Is this a story you're buying into, or are you running for the hills from that valuation? Let us know what you think down in the comments. And hey, if you get value out of these deep dives, do us a favor. Please subscribe, like, and share Value Best Daily for daily learning opportunities before you put your money to work. And one more thing for you. If there are other high-risk, high-reward companies like this one that you want us to break down, drop a comment and let us know. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.